And welcome once again to the once a month just review of various cool third party and homebrew products I've collected and picked up over the years. More and more have to find new ones to fit particular themes because that's not how I collected. But yeah, sorry about the little bit of lateness today. I had the program I had everything shown up and prepped and ready crash right as I was getting the last thing done. So apparently I had too many files open. Funny that. But yeah, as per usual, we got a theme this month being emotional bonds, and I've gotten a few more system neutral things to show y'all to help you really, well, hopefully be able to bring something to your table to show off to your players, maybe make things a bit more in depth. As soon as this program loads, come on. I know I said open. Okay, whew. Okay, everything is now ready again. So, open up this window here. There we go. As usual, well, actually, before that, I was gonna have a host join me to, sorry, co-host join me today. Unfortunately, there were some scheduling conflicts. But too late for me to find someone else who was certainly ready for it on short notice. Yeah, for this month at least. Ironically enough, emotional bonds will be done with just me. And despite not having co-hosts, the little pre-thing before I go into any actual homebrew is this piece of advice I had actually come across on Tumblr. If your plot feels flat, study it with S.T.U.D.Y, while standing for a little something. Oh, I even got rid of the little highlight thing I had ready. Well, go. Yellow, I think is like, yeah. There we go. But yeah, as this pertains to emotional bonds and trying to help, get those integrated into your game, but not necessarily between players. Players can figure that stuff out themselves, but between a player and NPC, as you're trying to kind of depict uh, relationships over time. They pick up, I don't know, a girlfriend who's just surfing in a tavern for like one of the first few sessions, or they're interested in pursuing this big, powerful mage who's helped them out a lot, and they've been reading into some romantic tension or what have you. You want to delve into that as the DM. How it pertains to it, let's see, we don't have to go about stakes, because, I mean, that's the stakes of the world. You don't need to include them for just every little emotional bit, unless it's super relevant. But thematic relevance to the events of the story speak to a greater emotional moral message, the conflict resolved in a way that befits the theme. That would be more if they're, pursuing or entangled with an NPC that's actually important to the plot. Like in the first season of Critical Role, Gilmore of Gilmore's Glorious Goods. At first, it didn't look like he's actually, connect to the plot. Until the animated series came out, and they kind of had to like squish down, cut out some of the half. But as things went on, he got some ties, even though it didn't work out. He I think Matt Mercer really made that work for the group at large. Vaxeldon politely turning him down, and then they just stab in the back with Rakshasa illusions. Oh, wish they could have done that in the show. Unless they did season 2, I just haven't seen it yet. But regardless, the urgency this be tied into how often they come up. Is it just something like in their downtime they go meet with this person, do little cute date things to help with like role playing stuff? Don't have to worry about it too much. But if it's a big enough fact that they're in this relationship that, say, the major villain finds out, how urgent do you make the cause that something happens to them? Kidnapping or blackmailed or what have you? Or perhaps even that they're threatening the romantic interests themselves to try and keep them away from you or to share information about the character. Yeah, that's. Let's see, drive. Well, I'm gonna see the drive would be this relationship in particular, but when you're not doing just relationship ties, other ways to bring this in. Are they active player in the story? They're repeatedly getting pushed around by external forces. So if maybe one of your players doesn't have a whole lot of well, they don't have any personal ties or reasons to participate in the plot. They just seem to be on the sidelines, not doing anything outside of combat. But you can tell they want to. Like, they don't want to be there just for fighting. Drive would be something to try and connect them to. Maybe you try and offer up a couple little NPCs who are interesting, tied to their family, old family friends that they perhaps knew in their childhood, got separated by whatever big event in their backstory got them on the road of being an adventurer. So it doesn't have to be necessarily romantic. It, like I said, it could just be friends they've known since forever and just finally getting back in touch with them. That could be a way to help bring players who seem to be struggling to be part of the main plot in and get them involved. As an example of that, Lord, my throat, 1 sec. Just gonna. Sorry about that. As an example of that, one of my players been in this setting I've done currently campaign 2 since the beginning. I mean, they their first character was Penny, just normal champion fighter, and it was a good start, especially with the other female player. What was it? Oh, Val's current one, Andrea the Artificer. Those two have been here since the beginning, and the other two players I had at the start were dickheads. They were probably just like kids memeing on. It's like this guy's backstory's got ties to Hitler shit. Just the stupid teenager shit, typical. But other two players came in, and both of them were able to engage more with the plot after that. But Penny still didn't have a whole lot. Her major drive was just raising money. She wanted to be rich. And throughout the game, she didn't spend too much. Not because she didn't want to, there's just nothing that felt like a need. So I got other things. I tied her main plot in such a way that a deity, Odin specifically, last of the Nordic pantheon, the others having died out, but he's holding the line. His belief shapes their personality. The other so the pantheon was like, we're not letting neo-Nazis make us like they wish we were. They just let themselves dissolve, so to speak, into the aether. Odin had to hold the line, because if none of them are there, then a new pantheon might come claiming their names and give those fascists exactly what they wish from their deities. So, her tie to the plot is that she is sponsored by Odin, with full knowledge that to give her the power she needs to be the heroic force in this prophecy will take what's left of his. But she has to have the drive, sure, for money, but still being heroic without having to ask for money up front or better rewards. A real warrior spirit, Odin saw. Being able to get her connected to that part of the plot allowed her and the player to open up a lot more, do some more RP stuff. Still not a lot, but second campaign, they were a lot more prepared for actually creating deep emotional ties. Some NPCs connect to their backstory they're currently driving the action to Little Feywild, with one of them having been kidnapped there. So yeah, it helps. Helps a lot. Not all players find it easy coming up with those sort of connections organically, but you can give them suggestions, little pokes and prods with plot and NPCs, and assist them with that. You, as the DM, are a farmer. You can plant the seeds, but your players interacting with it are what cause them to be watered and fertilized and grow into something great. And yeah, so like I said, with the study thing here, which is great advice in my opinion, thematic relevance, urgency, drive, especially, are going to be the important things when creating these emotional bonds. Because yield, like foreshadowing stuff, that's. I wouldn't suggest it for NPCs, because that would be stuff like uh, foreshadowing that they're connected to the big bad, either as a former employee or even actively part of it. It works if they, I don't know, if you're this, you've got this sort of group who tries to befriend some enemies just because they're cool. Perhaps like an assassin that came in the night and failed to kill them. That would be a good point to start leading to the yield these questions, though. Do they use the knowledge or clues in the beginning or help them to the end? Learn things about other characters that weren't immediately obvious. That's when you can focus on those things. When they just knock the train up, plot off the rails, and start turning things into its own direction. I'll probably do a more in-depth on this in another, I don't know, maybe a lore stream, if not another future bootleg identify, but I just feel it's something to think on, especially if you're stuck on a story and you need something to build on. These are all great questions to ask yourself to try and find more seeds, not steeds, for your players to water and fertilize for you. Yeah, moving on to the next thing, and I'll leave that up just in case I think of things to come back to this. One of the system neutral mechanics you can introduce to make things a little easier on yourself. For perhaps planning some encounters ahead, or instead of doing a lot of groups do like survival checks when players on the road to figure out what sort of encounter they come across, sort of randomness. Instead, you can use fudge dice. Fudge dice are used in the system Fate, which is there you have a Fate Accelerated, simpler, and a Fate Core, which is the more in-depth stuff. They have in common are these six-sided dice. They have two sides that are neutral, two sides that are opposed, two sides that are favored, or 0, minus, plus, and that's how the game works. It's not hard numbers, it's just you have some proficiencies, we'll call them. I'm blanking on what the actual term was. It's been a while since I've played the system. But you have some bonuses to start, and you're just rolling to see how many more bonuses you get from the dice, which could be all pluses, best possible scenario, or all minuses, where everything has just gone to shit, or more in the middle, where it's just you gotta hope you got a decent bonus to at least make it through. And yeah, the way you can do these with encounters is perhaps pick a few for just things that could happen while on the road or coming into a new city. Then, when it comes time for them to actually reach that city, you've got a small list of just in Skyrim. I think it's Morthal. There's a scripted event you come in and someone just kills a woman in the market. You could do scripted moments like that. Nothing huge, but little seeds for more missions to get people interested in the events of the city, whether they be political or bloody, in the case of that example from Skyrim. Yeah, just because he used these special dice, I know Roll20's got a fudge dice roller you can use. There are at least two that I saw online looking it up for rolling fudge dice, where you can just use a normal d6. A rule that 1 and 2 are the minus, 3 and 4 are neutral, 5 and 6 are the plus, stuff like that. Or if you just needed improv, your players took a direction you weren't expecting, you could do a little GM roll to yourself to decide whether what they're trying to do is going to pay dividends. Looking for a secret black market magic shop, and maybe best possible situation. Person there recognizes one of the players, maybe can quote their backstory as the rogue with just fencing items with them. And they just help them out, maybe not a discount necessarily, but if they need information that shop wouldn't have, it's like, we can't help you there, but I do know someone who could. The more neutral ones, it could be more just vagaries of that. Going more negative and negative. It's perhaps someone there has dirt on the players themselves or is a recurring foe. Maybe not a huge one that they have to fight in the middle of wherever they're headed. but enough to just cause some problems because you, well, the players know that they're going to go share that information even if they're selling it to the highest bidder. Yeah, it's a nice little system neutral way to just introduce some RP, especially if you're not like comfortable like planning that stuff out. I know it's hard to get off the absolute control part of the DM to predict everything, but players can throw you curveballs. Sometimes you have to accept that and just move on. Yeah. On to the next one, which I'm gonna have to actually open. Like I said, this all closed right before I started. Here it is. Open up this little map thing, and let me get the name of the people who did this, because this was actually a joint effort from two people. Yeah, here they are. Just open up a nice little text thing that I had before, but it closed on me. Oh, jeez, and everything's big by default. God damn it. And we'll make this a more readable off-white. And put it over here. Yeah, this is a... I shouldn't. It's not on here, is it? God dang, it's... I'm sorry. Like I said, everything closed on me just before stream. Back open to the filter. Here it is. Ithivellia. Oh shit. Wrong thing. Well, I'm gonna just copy paste this into chat, make it easier to read and look up. And as always, when I have the VOD up on YouTube, I will have links there to make it easier to find. But Ithivellia number 1, the Mycelial Gate. It is, again, a system-neutral little side quest centered on some Archfey politics of some events that are happening in the Ithivellia section of the Feywild. They have the party come in. It is largely like fighting unnecessary, despite what things look to be. Time. Let's see, open its layer. Here it is. That now the way Furry Folio was involved with this is they actually designed one of the little spore-esque creatures that appeared. Garrick. There it is. I'm gonna have to make this smaller because it's freaking huge. I believe that's at 350. Yes, but where? There. Why are you all the way up here? There you go. Look at this little guy. Like, he's just a adorable little thing. Kinda. Like, in an ugly sort of way. The Cygarica, a fey mushroom thing that, while not the true source of the problem, is heavily involved in everything that's going on. The Ithivellia pack, like I said, being system neutral, it does not have any stat blocks to use. It has some suggestions, but it is largely about the maps, the plotting itself, but also of the various little packs that... Let's see, that company... Yeah, that was Burrowbound that made. They also do music that goes with the pack. I'm not sure how much I can share, just for whatever copyright reason they might have on this. So I'm only going to do a couple seconds. But on listening, I'm sure you'll agree, this is some mushroom-sounding music. Right? Yeah? Very mushroom-esque. Like, if someone just put that on the radio to play, ask you what it sounded like, how could you not say mushrooms? Fungus, the little fungus dance from Fantasia forever ago. And this is not the only pack they have done, where Burrowbound has paired up with another creator to make Burrowbound's major contribution being various maps of different seasons, both day and night version, as well as with grids or without. but also just the pieces of audio music to help with the ambiance of the scene, which I think more people should really think of. Setting the ambiance is not just what things look like. Uh, Feel free to engage your players with smells and sights, no matter how minor. If they're in a tavern for some reason, you're doing the classic. Everyone starts in tavern for session one. Give them the smells. Is it the sort of tavern where it's just like stews and hard bread, or do they have like spiced curry or sweet drinks? Just smells wafting in the air. A little bit of set dressing go a long way to immerse your players. That's why I collect so many little map stuff like this. It's a shortcut to do it, but it can look oh so pretty, especially if you're just picking things up over the years that are like on sale at the time. Yeah, moving on from them, let's go ahead and close this and the discard changes. The fudge dice. Next one will be the last setting neutral thing, which I'm gonna have to do some more resizing on this from what I recall. Eyes on the prize, which I do not have a file open, like a fool. But that's on me. Eyes on the prize. It's just it's not system neutral. It is just a small system in of itself. Where Eyes on the Prize, it's about a fake marriage role-playing game, typically between the person running the game and two players, or 4 players split into 2 pairs. Each pair being, a fake marriage thing in this little event. Open up the other 2 pages because this is a paid-for product. IRA Prince Vows over on Itch.io. Excuse me. Okay, open this application. Oh, wrong folder. Here on the Eyes on the Prize. These are just the 2 pages that are publicly visible. Let's see. Yeah, we'll have the character creation one first. Let's go ahead and resize that so it'll be a lot easier for me to show y'all. There we go. Scale it. This one being on the character creation process, which first, look at these adorable little goobers. They are Fey-looking figures. But yeah, once you have both characters, you work on how the partnership part of it works. Your character brings strategically to this fake marriage. Why do they need the other person? Are they trying to get out of another marriage in particular? Are they just trying to put off marriage itself for a little bit until some inheritance comes in? What is your plot? What are you trying to achieve? Which I guess ties into the avoiding another marriage. Not. Actually, I got those 2 questions mixed up. What does your character bring strategically to the fake marriage? It could be a court rank. Sorry, a court rank to kind of fend off the other would-be suitors. What you could be bringing is actual connections. Get people to either buy what you need. That's not the right way to phrase that. Buy the lie you're selling, to spread little rumors for the other person. And the plot being what you're trying to pull off with this fake marriage. Avoiding another worse one. Waiting on the inheritance so you can be more, you work by yourself. Shoot, what is the term? I'm just so bad with words today. Part of the fault being I had notes here that are not here anymore. Yeah, what are you planning to do about the marriage once you've got what you need out of it? Does the partner know, and have you even talked about it? So in this little fake marriage thing, could be you haven't shared all those details with the person you're faking the marriage with. You both could have goals that are at odds with each other. What are the stakes? What happens if you fail? Or, God forbid, if you succeed? Worst of all, what happens if the fake marriage leads to real love? This is actually on sale until later tonight. So I'm actually going to put this into the chat and pin it for a little bit. In case anyone is interested in picking this up, it is currently half price. So if you're interested in looking into this more in your off time, maybe fun date night activity with friends, go for it. See, yeah, after figuring out your individual goals and whatnot, coming together, what are you telling everyone about this fake marriage the two of you are under? You know, how you met, why you fell in love, the shared plans, the future. Just go real Jane Austen with it, Have fun. Then the important note here being, do not make notes on the sheet if anything that's untrue. It's like singing in a Disney movie does not contain lies. Neither should your notes on your character. All the lies in your head itself. The details must be remembered to the best of your ability as you roleplay. The way your couple navigates the suspicion that always threatens their plans. If something is forgotten or fumbled, you'll simply have to change or add on to the lies. Memory is the key. Then for the other important page, it's actually on a different thing. Oh, come on. Why am I not? Oh, because I'm on the wrong layer. Of course, that would explain it. Oh, come on. I went downside again, but I can't move this freaking window. Go. Some of the events that happen in order, these being the third and the fourth, a duel. Someone has insulted your beloved. If you're doing the 4-player version, it comes from the other pair. Each member of the partnership rolls a d8. That's another thing. The entirety of this little game is just d8s. So it's not something you just pull the dice out of your Monopoly board or what have you, take care of. But then whatever you roll, add it together, and these are the results comparison to the other. Let's see. Rolled higher is the one tasked with actually defending their honor. It's very important. Rolled double is the insult was the marriage itself. And all token changes are doubled. Yeah, 11 to 16, you get to go ape shit. Somehow in ways beyond your control. This is just touched on a real nerve. You get to describe the carnage and the aftermath, and you get these bonuses, which will affect how successfully the fake marriage goes off. It's yeah, after that, there's the other social event, dancing. Obviously, you're bringing a fake marriage to this big event, and you're gonna do some dancing? Perish the thought. This one is rock, paper, scissors. Ooh, boy, best of 8. That's... Oh, now the number of times you play the same move. Interesting. See, and then with 4 players, the other pair is free to keep an eye on you. Raise hell if they think you're cheating or giving each other some kind of signal. Which is a very fun way to just make this, well, a fun date night activity, or at least friends who are very close with each other. Yeah, and this is not even the last page. This is page 13 of this little short document. It's all fun, hectic activity. I mean, give it a try, right? Why not just give it a try? If nothing else, you kill an hour or two just having fun, organizing a fake marriage with your friends, right? Let's see. I believe the next thing I have is part of a browser PDF. I can find the window. There it is. Here we are. Now this one I'm not overly fond of. I'll be honest. I'll tell you the reasons why in just a second. But this document by is it Goblin Coach or Coach Goblin? The Goblin Coach. Yeah, their homebrew. All their homebrew they make is free. However, the images in it they use are courtesy of Midjourney. Now, before anyone's up in arms about that, because I do have very vocal opinions on AI art, they don't sell any of their things. Like, as far as I saw going through their site, they don't have so much as like a Patreon or a Ko-fi or something to donate to them. They're just giving it out for free for people who are interested in the ideas they have, which toes a line that everyone has to kind of decide where the acceptability of AI falls in that regard. And I'm on the side with much thought that if they are not accepting pay for what they are making, it's fine. It's still questionable in my mind, but if they're not getting paid for it, it's not a major issue, you know? Because AI art is indeed theft. It is only possible because the AI programs themselves just look at a bunch of art, pull what they can, and then with some ending magic, so to speak, make the little bits and pieces they quote unquote looked at uh, come together in a way that looks somewhat feasible. Which is just it's morally questionable to me. That's the thing. It's morally questionable to do that. But like I said, they're not accepting pay for it. So into the meat and potatoes of the thing. Goblin Coach has here are just a variety of bars, inns, and taverns, and little uh, menu options, as well as prices for each of them. Arena savory pies and describes the atmosphere warm, inviting, cozy, and rustic. Decor featuring wooden tables and chairs, the walls adorned with various culinary knickknacks and pictures of famous chefs. It helps with the set dressing, especially if you're doing a more roleplay centric mission. Like maybe the party is sucking up to a would be patron who wants to fund their endeavors, but they are still a merchant. They still need to be sold on the idea. Or perhaps they're taking out an important NPC to try to, you know, booze and schmooze with them to get them just drunk enough to share that delicious info they're looking to get. I think things like this, where it's just bar descriptions, it's menus, it's ways to help ease the creative burden as the DM to get all the set dressing perfect for them. Like I said earlier in the stream, in the first campaign I did for my current setting, half the players were shitheads and had to be replaced. The way I brought in the two replacement players was I had one of the old ones left for their own individual business, but the other knew one of the players coming in. They introduced them, they took everyone out on their own expense to introduce them to the group. And I had this tavern style restaurant where you pay a small, well, not too small a sum, for just a huge chunk of meat, block of cheese, and a loaf of bread, as well as a knife to cut all of them and make your own sandwiches. And it's just other little appetizers, sides, and drinks or what the individuals order. A cozy atmosphere, give them a chance to get to know each other, and that atmosphere helps. It does help, especially because the old player, sorry, old player character that brought in one of the new ones, both of them were spies connected to the same organization. And it is pretty much just like they were not confident that their cover was being kept. So they're just handed off to someone new. It's like, hey, this guy, this young Jasper, he's a bard, but he's got the dexterous fingers of a lockpick. Should that knowledge be necessary to the group? Get to know each other here on my tab. Just don't drink and booze too much, And it can be difficult for some people to do those things in the spur of the moment. Again, that's why I collect this stuff over the years. So before having to create something from scratch, I go, okay, what do I already have? Is there anything I can use that I haven't touched since I bought it? And with how much like homebrew stuff there is free, like this nowadays, I mean, go for it. Take advantage of it. Why not? If it's there, you should, lean on it wherever you can. No one gets through this world alone. No man is an island. If it's not going to cost you a dime, might as well take it, right? Don't claim it as your own, of course. Even with them using AI art, I would never claim anything I use here something I made. But if someone asks you, just say, "Oh yeah, this person made it." If you're interested in getting it, it's free, and that's all you have to do. But yeah, that is it for the Bars, Inns, and Taverns by Goblin Coach. Back over to the GIMP presentation here. What I have is an item. The 5e item subclass stuff, because that is my current system of choice. It will change in the future. I'm trying to gravitate towards the Cypher system, but I mean, I've been doing the 5e long enough. I've got quite a selection to draw from, so it does make up a good portion of these streams. What we have here is the Portal Daggers set, where I show the image that boss loot has that goes with them. 4 ancient knives whose power spans the planes of existence are said to contain a secret knowledge, older than time itself. Those who unlock their secrets will gain access to a realm of power and knowledge beyond the comprehension of mortal minds. +2 weapon, of course. It's very rare, that's not too bad for it. And there are 4 knives as part of this set. There's the Prime, the Secundus, the Tertius, and the Quartus, or pretty much 1, 2, 3, 4. Each imbued with a unique ability, a portal to the next knife's location. So Prime opens second opens third opens fourth back to 1. And just a strong connection is formed between you and the dagger once the portal is opened. Only you can retrieve the blade from its resting place. But if 4 players simultaneously enter the 4 portals created by the magic knives, they will be instantly transported to a unique location, depending on the context of the game or stories. And it's got some examples, and I just think that's fun. Because while it is a set, I don't think they kind of presented the wording perfectly. Even though it is a set, each dagger is individual attunement. You can give this to a party, and if shit's hitting the wall, hitting the fan, they can teleport to each other. This is why I brought it in for emotional bonds. Because to split up the set amongst the party involves trust. There has to be trust. Because the other thing about a dagger is so easy to hide and just stab someone in the back. As always, Boss Loot also has very beautiful art. Look at this. Oh, wrong layer again. Look, just the bright, vibrant colors, which, to be honest, they don't really match blade to handle. I would have thought they'd match, say, the handle one to the next blade and so on, which works here for green, kind of works for the blue there, but not the pink, because that is most certainly a purple. And this kind of cyan periwinkle is certainly not this red-orange. But overall, I think it's a very neat idea to visibly show them. They're all similar, but not the same. Different hand guards, different texture on the grip itself. They just do such beautiful work. I can't help but enjoy that for them. This is the first item because it's borderline system neutral. Yeah, sure, there's a small bonus to damage here, but the ability to teleport to each other, I mean, how many mechanics do you really need to add to a system? A lot of fantasy systems are going to have a form of teleportation. Maybe transferring this over, you just add a limit to the distance or number of times per day. Oh, jeez. Alright, that was big on nowhere. Ugh. Yeah, you could, if it's just too powerful in some systems, there are easy ways to limit this. Like I said, with the distance involved or how many times per day. Because overall, it's very rare more for the +2 bonus than this teleportation ability. Let's See, it doesn't say anything about has to be on the same plane of existence, which might be a bit much for very rare. But just think of the heist that might be necessary to get the full set. Because if someone has this kind of special dagger, either one, keep it on themselves at all times, or two, it's in a special vault that prevents these portals from being opened. Or if some unlucky fool has one, there's just this random encounter of someone teleporting to them trying to take the knife. There are just very interesting ways you can use this set. I'm here for it, especially with how chaotic it could very well get. But yeah, moving on, the boss loot item there, we have a feat, which I'm going to go back and just close that because I don't think we need that anymore. Against all odds, which this one I will need to do a little text thing for the person who made it. Ariadne Stringweaver, very talented. They don't have a whole lot of stuff, but the stuff they do have is very nice looking. Very creative use. I'm going to have to resize this for sure. Whereas we're going to make this darker color. Yep. Oh, not pixel. 12? Yeah, that's readable. Readable is good enough. But yeah, they have some things, a variety of things. They're not all feats. But against all odds, with the flavor text stuff, it's always darkest before the dawn, but just stubbornly refuse to fail even in the direst of situations. Charisma bumped by 1, which kind of fits. A lot of action hero kind of thing, just big dramatic speeches, so charisma. But every ally within 30 feet with fewer than half their HP, counting yourself, gain a +1 to all attacks, saves, and ability checks up to 3. Like I said, it is for every ally. And it is a feat for just yourself. It's pretty much designed so it can stack well with Paladinoras. Give that nice little boost for someone who may need it. Maybe they didn't get the best stat rolls because no one's doing point buy. And, you know, I do like rolling 46. Apology. Ugh. I do like the rolling 46 option for stats because the randomness is what makes it fun. Helps shape the character. So little feat, or very like minor thing because you're only getting maximum +3, and it is in a dire situation of every ally being less than half hit points to get another little bonus. Though I think the cap maybe isn't too necessary at 3, it'd probably go up to 5. But that's something for the DM to decide. Yeah, it's a fun little feat I wanted to share, and I thought it was very fitting for this, this theme of emotional bonds. You're getting stronger with the friends you have nearby. It's very anime in that way. Let's see, and next, close this first, I have 2 spells, which might seem a little weird. It's been mostly items. But they are both from expert. They're both from this fun Tumblr blog called 5e Card a Day. Every day they convert a card from Magic the Gathering to 5e. There are some that are spells, or some that are stat blocks, or items. And I have 2 of them today. This is the way they work. Before I read it, I'm going to also open, let's see, as layer, the card that they are basing this on, because I think that'll help, get the message across of what they're trying to do with the spell. See? Got a little image up. Go ahead and view. Fit wound, there we go. Defend the hearth, the image being a bunch of like Spartan-esque warriors, big shield wall, spears out. To catch people who are rushing this particular building. For a 2nd level abjuration spell. Cast time of reaction. Reaction being to when an object or structure within range is hit by an attack. Range is actually pretty beefy, 120 feet, so you don't even have to be right next to it. Sorcerer Wizard, which is probably a bit limiting, but it is low enough level that Eldritch Knight fighters could still make use of it. I think it's a good choice in that regard. But a group of soldiers, ethereal but armed with very solid-looking shields and spears, springs up around the object or structure. For the duration of the spell, the said object or structure is just immune to all damage, including the trigger attack. In addition, creatures are magically prevented from entering or exiting for the duration. So this is perfect for a siege, or even if you got someone, you're in pursuit of a bounty or a threat, trying to get back to their base, you can get within this range of 120 feet before they can get inside. You could keep them out. Oh, the mechanics of that, the possibilities. Especially because there's no save. All you have to do is set up one of your friends to attack the structure so you can reaction cast this. What's the other guy gonna do? Unless they're a wizard or something with counterspell, they can't stop you. Now, it's concentration, so all you have to do after casting it is just stay out of their range, or at least far enough back. They can't make it to the building if they knock you out of concentration. It's just such an interesting idea. The other spell is also just as fitting with the theme, which, where is... Here's Harvest Pyre. Open both of these. Yes, convert that one too. Let's, both those mark. Oh, of course, the layers out of order. I'm gonna have to expand it. Ugh. Sorry, just everything's turning up great for me today. Okay, image. Canvas layers. There we go. Harvest Pyre, which, as you can see in the image, is in fact what it is. Big, burning structure-looking thing. Also a reaction spell, also second level, but evocation, several other classes available to use it. But this one being a reaction to when you cast a spell of first level or higher, not cantrips. That'd be a bit too powerful. But as part of it, use the reaction to cast a spell after finishing the other one. You ignite the remnant magical energy in the air, creating a blazing fire. There's creatures you can see within range that is affected by that last spell you cast, the triggering spell. They automatically take fire damage. 1d6 per level. There's no save, there's no to hit. It is entirely dependent on another spell being cast by you, and they have to have been affected. So if they made a save, say a rogue with evasion made the save on Fireball, you can't do Harvest Pyre to stack on that damage. But if they failed, still took half damage, you can still go nope, more, and then they can't reduce this one. Ugh, they're so creative. I think I'm going to try and look up some more stuff like stat blocks and items for other streams, because I almost forgot about this. They just hadn't updated in a while and popped up on time. I'm like, hey, I need to look for some of these, because I know they're going to have good ones for almost any theme I've got. Yeah, moving on then. Yeah, we'll go ahead and close this one. I think having too much open is what caused it to forcibly shut down last time. You don't need those. I think we're going to start with another item, just because this one will be rather quick. Have Abyssal Brews a Lover's Vow, which first, just look at this thing. The detail on this, the thematic elements, a big heart, but two hands just grasping together. Just, ugh. Beautiful work, as always. These people who are posting their items on Twitter, they're just so creative. We have, they say that the bonds of love are stronger than any handcrafted material, but the bonds of this shared locket might be even stronger. The trinket is formed from two metals, forged into interlocked hands, ornamented braid that displays the shape of a heart. It comes with two chains that hang from the top of each of the braided portions. Just the implied lore and materials, making this not only is this thematic to emotional bonds, because Lover's Vow being able to split is a like friendship necklace kind of thing, but also the implications that your players could build this. They could make one of these if they wanted. I mean, it's going to be time, might be even money intensive because it's very rare, but that implication that if they just see one of the wild, they could commission a piece. It's great. It helps give a goal to a group if there's no major threats to worry about to act against. So I just loved that. We haven't even gone to the description of what it actually does. Yeah, for it to split, the chains have to be placed on each person simultaneously, which creates the mutual connection. It has this nice little crackling spark as it splits, but otherwise it's nothing too fancy. Especially, well, except for they cannot be removed after placing it around your neck by any means other than a wish spell. At least no one else can. It's just, ugh. That's a very till death do us part type of arrangement. As long as we both shall live, when one creature wearing half dies, any means including death saves, massive damage, or a spell, both halves burst in a flash of crackling magics resembling a small firework. The smell of roses hanging thick in the air as the creature that died suddenly vanishes, reappears at the safest empty space next to the creature wearing the other half. They get half their hit points rounded down, and are cleansed of any conditions they had when they died. This unfortunately destroys both halves, but I mean, for very rare, one use better than Revivify, that's a great effect. That is a great flavor, especially if there's, say, an interparty romance. Or even better, if there's a party member and NPC romance, and they split one of these. I think the message sent, if that NPC just suddenly appears unconscious, but recovering mid-battle. Oh, the things that you could do with a plot with one of these, just, well, chef's kiss. Love it. Like I said, Abyssal Brews, Loot Tavern, there are a lot of Twitter homebrew people who just share their stuff for free. Though it's free, please feel free to toss a couple bucks their way. This is good stuff. And they don't make stuff often enough or costly enough to make a living off of it. But they do good enough to deserve a couple tips, right? The detail without AI art, the implied lore and implications that you can do with the plot of this item. I just love I love showing off creative people like that. Let's see, I think I've only got one person left. They have multiple things. This is actually the first time I've showed their stuff off, so let's start with. Yeah, let's start with this one. Like I said, I have multiple items for them. It's a very fandom-esque one, Palistrom. For anyone who's a big fan of the Owl House, little Palisman things. They've got the not just the component, but also making the magic item itself. Before I open that, we'll just go through this. Wondrous item, rare, talks about the Palisman trees, extremely rare enchanted ones, commonly harvested for the wood. Has many uses in arcane implements, such as wands, staffs, and rods for Palisman. Over the course of a full workday, a woodcarver's tool check with dexterity to attempt to whittle it down to a quarterstaff, rod, wand, or the Palisman itself. Making these successfully is a +2 bonus to spell attacks rolls when using it, as well as the DCs, which very powerful. Even without other effects, that is still very good. It is certainly something you don't want to give too many to your group over. See, but on a failure, the wood requires another workday to continually refine and then reattempt the check. with only fully failing. You fail the DC by 5 or more a single time, failing it 3 different times, which I think is chancy enough. Because, I mean, it is rare, but it's not going to be super rare. It's not very rare, it's not artifact, it's not legendary. It's the great way to do it. The actual Palisman item itself. We're just going to open another one, because it'll be quicker. Wrong thing. As we can see, we've got the classic Hootie style. Well, not Hootie. Albert, that's what she calls it. Albert style one. Also rare, requiring attunement, of course, because it gives you a +2 to DCs and spell attacks. Palismen are tiny, intricately detailed wooden totems of creatures, carved from an enchanted wood known as Palistrom. Each comes with an interlock that allows you to magically attach them to the ends of your staves using your action. Staff requires you to attune to it. Palisman shares that attunement instead. Staff adorned it. Palisman also functions as a broom of flying. Hence why it is a rare item. You get a free flying thing, you get the bonus to your spells and DCs. It's like, oof. With your bonus action, mimic the effects of Find Familiar. Except it appears as a construct. Sorry. And can only take the form of a creature that was carved. Convert it back when using a bonus action, and when it hits 0 HP, deanimates into the damage wooden totem, a single hit point. Cannot be reanimated until you've used hours worth of work with woodcarver's tools or using the mending spell. Very important details there. Just, fits the lore of the show, but also doesn't need to create too much from scratch to make it usable in D&D. Of course, once you have bonded the staff to yourself, you can't be disarmed of it unless you are incapacitated. Then you can just summon to yourself as a bonus action, kind of like a mini hack to the blade, even though it's your spellcasting implement rather than a weapon itself. And then, of course, they also created some familiars that could, function as a Palisman. And this is the most adorable one. The Pomblebee. Wait, look at this thing. Could you say no to this face? If you can, you're a liar or a fool. Yeah, this is a nice little stat log. It's not too strong, especially for it to be a familiar potential. Advantage to perception checks for hearing and smell. Not super important. Magical resistance, not that rare. The fairy dragon also has that. It has a range spell attack, which, as familiars, they cannot typically use attacks. I believe it is the warlock familiars that can break the mold on that. Or there's a feat that allows you to do it as well, but base familiars typically don't get access to attack actions. Invisibility, however, very much so. Very much an option. Yeah, the, let's see, variant familiars. Make share senses, yep. As well as within 10 feet, also like the fairy dragon, they share magic resistance. So not only do you get this cute companion right here, you also get a little boost to your defenses. As a spellcaster, magic resistance for even just the damage is very nice. The last item I have from Homebrew Skis. They have made both the Palisman things here, but also the Pomblebee, like I said. Is a stat block that's a bit more... It's a bit of a downer, I'll be honest. But I think it's an important thing to think on for campaigns. Just the ways to implement some of these things. And I'm just going to close these because we won't need it. We have the Klobuk. We're going to ignore the stat block for now and just go down here for the lore. Klobuk. When naming a ritual of a Poraniek, which I think is reference to the actual lore spirit they're referencing, the wicked mutation, the baby's curse is dispelled, and its mundane cadaver is left behind to the earth. The spirit binds itself to the threshold in which it was buried. Now, purified spirit of the baby returns to the realm to look over its family and loved ones, protecting their domain from all manners of harm and tragedy. This holy creature, and I emphasize this because it is not typical for an undead thing to be considered holy, at least in 5e. It's referred to as a Klobuk, resembles the cured cave as an ethereal blue apparition, like vibrant and healthy features throughout. Two important features being undead nature, finding air, food, drink, and watchful guardian. Watching over its family diligently, particularly its mother, and possess the family cat or other creatures to help do their part. But just the lore perspective alone, a spirit that is solely protective. I think it is important, even if visually in game you make it look like something else. Use it as like a guardian spirit stand in rather than a mother's child protecting the family, even though it is gone from this world. The implications are very. They're thinkers. The ways they interact with any setting can lead to a bunch of possible options for side quests. Imagine a home burnt down in a raid. Years later is rebuilt, and there's gossip, there's rumors about a haunting of some sort. No signs of like any harmful damage to the people or the residents. Just people calling the party in because signs of ghosts being there at all causes worry. It is a It would be a challenge that does not require fighting. Your players could, if they want to. I mean, there's this stat block up here. But instead, they could try to appease the spirit, perhaps helping it move on willingly without having to go full on exorcist, or perhaps trying to convince to bond to this new family instead because their old family is gone. Or even a mixture of the two. To help it move on, you do need to give it closure that whatever the surviving family has moved away for their own safety and can't come back, or they have all fallen themselves. The story you can do without an ounce of combat. It's just the sort of challenge thing some DMs don't think of, giving something that is primarily a roleplay challenge, and then something that'll typically be done with combat. And I think it's something everyone needs to consider when running a game. Giving your players options rather than assuming they will find another one, because some people do need that little hint that it's okay to do non-combat ways to solve problems. A role-playing game. It's not a problem for every group, of course, but there's some people who need that little nudge, especially new players who only know it from Baldur's Gate. Excuse me, just repeated all over today. But yeah, small undead. It's only got a 14 armor class, only 45 hit points. A lot more than typical baby, but still not a lot. Even like third, fourth level players, this would not be a hard fight. Yeah, sure, they have a lot of resistances, but they're also a guardian spirit. If anything, these and the immunities should be hints that you shouldn't be fighting them, you know? Let's see, can't carry anything because incorporeal ghosts. They have an aura effect that creates light. They can alter the radius as a bonus action. It helps protect people from being charmed, frightened, paralyzed, all this themselves. They have a few spells as well, just a small DC of 13. It's not the best thing for roaming invaders set on burning down a village. But Sacred Flame, Sanctuary Speaks. It tells a lot of a story for an undead spirit using spells like that, especially one that just looks like a child. Of course, as Ghost, it needs to be able to move through things. Once a day healing touch, slightly better than cure wounds, as well as freeing target from curse, disease, poison, blindness, or deafness. Or being able to minor possession, and similar to at least some of the early versions, dragons recharging on a 6. So it can't just do it willy nilly. It's a really low save, so it's gonna only be little creatures. But yeah, it's a little bit of a downer. At the references with the Palisman and Pomblebees as a familiar, but sometimes the story needs little dips, so your players can better enjoy the action sequences or the fun role playing moments. Like any good playlist, you need both dips and rises. You can't just be all high energy, passionate music. You need to sometimes have things slow down a bit so they can better appreciate it, to catch their breath. Yeah, it's just something to think on. I don't think I have anything else left. Oh, right. You have two things left. One is a race, kinda. At least the way one I'm showing. The other is a subclass for monk. The monk one will probably be a little out there in comparison to everything else. I said open. Come on. There we go. So first we're starting with the stat block. The animated armor, full of bees. It is pretty much the stat block for animated armor, but also some things represent it being full of bees. Bee filled. This armor is full of a swarm of bees. When the animated armor is grappled, incapacitated, or unconscious, the bees will attack, functioning as a swarm of insect stat block. It is just a joke thing by Snickle Socks, who once again, who have actually done some really big stuff. This is one of their jokey things on their site, but they've done lasers and liches. They're involved with Retroverse. They have some great things, and this is just their kind of jokey thing. And the animated armor has a ranged bee missile attack. It's not supposed to be taken too seriously because, like I said, games you need highs and lows. So bouncing back from the undead baby, we've got animated armor that's got a swarm of bees inside. But they went one step further. That one step further I can't share because it is a pay-for product they've done. The Swarmforged race. With some flavor text here from courtesy of Snickle Socks. So, you're made of bees? Primarily. What happens when you die? I don't understand the question. Like, can you die? Perish? Cease to exist? I did not know I could live. Life has proven to be a difficult experience. This is a concept I do not wish to understand. It is just going further into the implied lore of Warforged that they're not really alive, but with a sentient swarm of bees inside an armor. Just like, you don't remember exactly when it happened. You remember being part of something, instincts making every decision for you, and then, without warning or ceremony, you were. You had form. You were all of the colony and a single entity at once. Within your new body beats the thrum of the hive. Your heart, a universe that was so vast and now is something so small. You are alive, and you are the Swarmforged. And it's as much of a joke as it is. The mechanics are nice. They're not super powerful, but they aren't useless either. It has some suggested quirks, like you leak a small but constant stream of honey everywhere you go, or have an intense fear of bears. Let's see, in the three... Where are the subspecies? Here we go. We've got the bee, which has a feature called sticky spells that affect your dex save spells. We have the zombie. hives overcome by a deadly parasite that infects the brains of the insects and usurps their power. And they have an ability just called Sacrifice. It allows you to gain some temp HP as a part of an attack. It's a little niche ability, but it's not a lot of temp HP. And rules is written, temp HP does not stack unless explicitly said otherwise, which this does not. Or there's the Hornet, which gives you another type of attack as an action using a cloud of hornets, as well as some suggestions for swarm variants and other abilities you could have, because the overall class abilities include some flight, not a lot. What's this other one? Okay, yeah, just the flight thing, and then other things you could swap into that. Like if you're a swarm of spiders rather than bees, you could get Spider Climb and Wet Walker, which are, well, Spider Climb is definitely better in some ways than flight, in other ways worse. But yeah, ways to do it with rats, with snakes, with bats, scarabs, ladybugs, which is probably the strangest thing. I mean, can you imagine a swarm of ladybugs being a threat? Roaches, worms, ants, and of course the other recurring D&D meme for a race: 3 goblins in a trench coat. But yeah, it is, for a joke race, it is very well put together. It's not like Wizards of the Toast that I reviewed with Beck the other stream, but it is very funny nonetheless. I would definitely recommend buying it, if only for like an NPC or even like a one shot for your players. Just it's fun. Yeah, since I can't show it itself, we're just gonna just appreciate this animated armor, and then the edit with the background being this instead of, I think it's like a library or Forgotten Tomb looking place behind the typical animated armor stat block in the book. And then the other one I have, the Monk subclass. Gotta scroll, get it. Ooh. Here we go. Okay, let's see, I have a text document about the little story for here. So this came from Tumblr as well, similar to 5e card a day, but this person does not primarily share homebrew. This is just a one-off they made for a friend. The story is this: one of my players wanted to play a Luchador Minotaur, so of course I homebrewed an entire Luchador Monk subclass. But honestly, the character in the subclass kinda fuck. Which, for those of you unfamiliar with that bit of slang, just means it's cool, goes off well. The way of the Lucha. As a third level of this monk subclass, you get efficiency and performance, because wrestling, while a martial art, it is just as much showmanship as it is actual combat. See, when you make a performance or intimidation check, should the action involve fighting or combat, do so with advantage. You can use dexterity or charisma for that roll. Minor typo there of being roll as in role playing rather than rolling a dice. And a suggestion of creating a stage persona. Subtle differences in your tone, mannerisms, and body language. And while wearing a mask, it's impossible for a person to ascertain your true identity without magic. Ooh. Ooh, sorry. It's just so many days off. My sleep schedule's a little buffed, I guess. But yeah, it's a very minor effect. People can't tell who you are without magic. Oh, it doesn't do too much to the story, and is pretty much only usable early game before anyone thinks you're a big enough threat to, I don't know, identify or scry on. Then also you get proficiency with close quarters combat. And any thrown monk weapons do not have a minimum effective range. Which pretty much means you can use them in a 5-foot distance as melee without having a disadvantage. Now, it is specific to thrown, so you can't do it with a bow. It's fine. With monk, you're probably not being a ranged fighter anyway. The heavyweight champion, which, yeah, that is still the 6th level features. Just options for key points. You can suplex people, which is different than a grapple, because it's a grapple check, as well as other effects. Deal additional 1d6 bludgeoning on top of the unarmed damage. If the square behind you is inhabited, they are placed there. Sorry, if there's no one in the square there, they are prone. Now, if the creature is 2 size classes bigger than you, you also have to make an athletics check. Failing it counts as an automatic failure for the grapple. And the key points are still used up. So it gets a little risky, but it's still an option. Just throw it again, 1 sec. Ooh, there we go. The other option being an elbow strike. So if you're able to successfully suplex someone, force them prone, target a prone creature with unarmed strike, you can spend a key point to empower it, falling onto them for yet another d6 extra damage. And you are not made prone by the same effect. And sweeping the leg, another way to make them prone. If a creature's in your melee range, make an attack against you. Before you determine if it hits, you spend a key point. You can attempt to knock them off balance. You get d4 and subtract the amount from their roll. It's kind of like a what is it? Not Commander Strike. The fighter feature where you get some dice, you get some maneuvers. That's it. It's kind of like another maneuver that is just this monk exclusive. Just lessen the amount. They if they do not have legs or can fly, they just immune to your ability. Again, not a major thing, but it's an interesting little thing to it. At 6th level, you get an ability called the Cage Match, which is already enough of a win there. Once per day, you can quote-unquote cast Compelled Duel. DC pretty much the same as your key effects from your monk, or instead of wisdom, you can swap in your charisma bonus if you're a bit more of a showman. So upon use of the ability, you just regained some key points equal to half your monk level. Count it down. Let's see. Oh yeah, but you still need to make concentration checks, yeah. We're off the top rope. More classic wrestling maneuvers. If, after falling, your landing spot would be on or within 5 feet of a creature, choose to spend an action to make an unarmed strike against them. The momentum of your fall is uninhibited by means other than your slow fall ability, which means you can't feather fall, can't levitate, your friends can't using reverse gravity or fly, or just the passive movement in the astral sea, which covers about all the bases. Probably a bit more than they had to, but just for their personal game, I'm not going to question how they do it. Yeah, so long as it's just your slow fall ability as a monk, the attack deals an additional 1d6 damage for every 10 feet, up to a maximum of 10d6. So it can be very powerful with the right setup, but it's not an easy setup nonetheless. There's so many odds here. Ooh. I guess I'm gonna have to cut the stream short just because of that. I don't want to keep yawning in your ears, but we'll wrap up this. 11th level, the crowd goes wild. Start combat, you gain temporary hit points, low number of allies within. Oh, there's no distance, just number of allies you can see. Up to 10. As long as you're conscious, allies that can see you have advantage against being frightened. Very, very minor effect considering all these other maneuvers and abilities you get, but it's still useful. Not gonna knock it. Just free temp HP, no heat necessary. Then finally, we have Deathmatch, which replaces Cage Match. So you're still getting, once per day, Compelled Duel. It's still Wisdom or Charisma bonus at that DC. Upon using this ability, you regain all your key points, which is a great, just final subclass feature to be getting out of this. If the target fails its save, your suplex, elbow drop, and sweep leg are free so long as you've got Compelled Duel up, which might feel like a bit strong, but that's a concentration check, and you have to be in melee distance. At this level, if an enemy can just never hit you in melee, and you are by yourself, you don't have spells on you, you don't have your friends helping them miss. If they just aren't hitting you, they're not a threat. Like the best use of this ability would be against the BBEG, not their minions, because it's once a day, and there is no spend key points to get it back. It is just once a day. But yeah, for the duration of the spell, your HP would drop below 0. But the damage would not kill you outright. Make a performance check to stay up. Just beautiful. It's encouraging, maybe a bit too much stat spread, because monks already need a lot. You need both dex and wisdom pretty decent for your unarmed defense. Sorry, once again. Yeah, you already need dexterity and wisdom as your main stats. Everyone needs con to some degree, especially because you do need to make some concentration checks. So you do have to make a choice of which stats to prioritize. So as powerful as some of the damage would be, you will be weak in some way that will inhibit some of your other monk abilities. But the fun of it all, and this is not all. They also created 2 other things. I can't remember if they're items or feats, because this is about where it crashed. Okay, they're items. Let me just go ahead and I'll keep that up in case we need it. I'm gonna open the other one before we go into details. Here we are. We're gonna start with the Chair of Interdimensional Folding, because oh boy, what a title. The magic of familiars is known. The mage may reach out to other planes of existence asking for aid and companionship. Sentient spirits will hear this request, and should their souls align with the mages, they connect. The spirit takes physical form. A non-sentient familiar taking the form of an object is an impossibility. Summoner would likely not even be able to summon it reliably on their own. And yet, it is a chair you attune to. Get your 4 charges back on a long rest. If allied creatures within 50 feet of you, they feel the pull of ethereal threads towards you. They may choose to use their reaction to expend a charge from this item, not from themselves. This is an ally, not the one who is attuned to it. They can expend one of its charges and empower your next attack. Then it's the next damaging attack, not even one right after the trigger, not the first one, it's just the next successful damaging one that hits, is empowered with additional 1d8 plus 1 force, which is nothing to sneeze at, especially because it's someone else's reaction, which is very good for a monk. But also, attunement is not required to be just monk, so other players can also get a use out of this. The Boots of 3 Hanged Sages, which I don't know enough about wrestling professionally, but I'm sure that's a reference. Before attunement, it appears as antique leather boots, the soles faded filigree with tattered threads from ancient ropes comprising the laces. But once attuned, will bind with the wearer's soul, reading the drama and destiny of their heart. Should they be found worthy, they will reflect this in their form. For their current wearer, they take the form of bright red boots, over conical hooves. The sole of the shoes have been stripped in certain places, allowing the wearer's resounding footfalls to strike fear, and to those who hear them grow louder. Legend says ancient bards, warrior poets, understand the brilliance of warfare, spectacle, and emotion, were executed for the danger they pose to the land. The names of the first Lucha have been lost to time, but the ropes used to hang them still carry their blood and their story. Come to aid to those whose presence in battle is felt and inspired. Just, that they're sharing this wonderful, sublime subclass made solely for their player. And they've involved that player in the lore of the items also made for them to work in a concert with this subclass. It's a beautiful thing to see. The implied experiences that have been had someone's homebrew. But yeah, these boots, they grab very minor bonus of dexterity charisma, but they're useful for the subclass, so it's not horrible. You only get 2 charges. Again, only on a long rest they come back. Dropkick. When you make a dash action, choose to expend one of the charges to summon ethereal ropes, backing up into them and then launching from them to make that strike. The creature you hit has to make a DC 10 the con save there. They're going to take half the damage and fall prone on top of it. Or the clothesline. There are two creatures the same size class as you, within 5 feet of each other. Spend both charges to empower a single strike to hit both of them. Though you have to roll separate, that's still... It's actually probably a little weak for a rare, but still, that's useful in the way it vibes with the subclass. Ah, the beauty of it. But yeah, it's that's all I had. That co-host to kind of talk maybe about similar experiences. Weren't able to get the other half hour in here, but thank you for joining me regardless. It's there are just some great items. I just wish this hadn't all shut itself down when I'd been setting up before stream. But yeah, before leaving off, once again, just a reminder, if you are a DM or you're trying to get into DMing, one thing to consider if you're having trouble with the plot is the study. If you're getting stuck somewhere, your players made a choice to change things, consider the stakes. What happens if the heroes fail? Would it be such a bad thing if it happens, especially if it's a gray area? It is a gray area if it's a bad thing. That makes for a compelling story, because your players might, in character and out, question if they really need to stop the BBAG. Are they doing it just because they were assigned to do so, or do they actually feel like they need to? Thematic relevance. The events of the story speak to a greater recurring theme. That's something if you ever get stuck, or maybe similar to me, most of your plot is improv to some degree. Like you have plot points and your players are just figuring out ways to connect them. That's how I do my improv. I know the broad strokes, but not the fine details for a majority of what I do. Because I can't predict everything they're gonna do. I've played with them for years, and sometimes they still surprise me, either with the choices they make or how much they're willing to invest to make their choices work. So if there is a recurring theme, either from your players that you're noticing or that you're trying to evoke, think on that. Think of how you can help present that, and it just might help you get your story back on the right track. The urgency. This would be why do they need to do it right now? What sort of time frames do they have to work against? Coming up right after the Feywild quest my players are currently on, there are going to be a couple months of downtime for them to do their own thing. And this is for two reasons. One of my players is going to have some seasonal work come up, and they're going to have to miss some games. Giving them these couple months will make it so they're not missing any major plot points, so that there are reasons for their character to not be with the group, instead of me piloting them and having to say, hey, your character went over this, whatnot. But also just that little bit of break will also help, like I said earlier about the highs and lows in a playlist, giving them moments where there is no pressing need to be doing something makes it feel all the more urgent when suddenly there is a sudden ticking clock they're working against. Just going back and forth as the plot needs it will help players appreciate the tension. If things are just all tense all the time because they have to do it now, it can lose the drive after a bit. Players need breaks. Sometimes they need dumb little side quest things. Even if in-game it's only a couple hours, but it's a couple sessions to get through. Your players need the emotional break. Heck, it's one of the reasons I have them in the Feywild now. It is connected to one of their backstories, the Amnesiac or Forged having issues. It is connected to NPCs that they care about that were kidnapped. But in the overall plot, it is actually not that. It is not the most important thing they have to worry about. I mean, just before this, they were tangling with a treant and orcs and other giant kin that were set to raid and invade nearby towns. This is actually a step down in terms of severity. While also with the location of it and the atrocities being committed, it also lets them let loose, not have to hold back and be a full-on heroic figure for the public. They're doing the right thing, but they have the agency to do it as violently as they need to match the atrocities. Allows them to do fun things and little memey combinations of spells and items that normally their characters would restrain themselves for doing because it comes off a bit monstrous. Highs and lows gives them the option to kind of switch gears themselves. But yeah, moving on to the next thing, the drive, what motivates the protagonist. We touched some of that just now with the urgency. Not just the time frame why, but what is making them have to pursue it. People being kidnapped. Ties to their amnesiac friend, who they've recently discovered is probably also kidnapped and on the way as well. The fascist mercenary group tied to some New York State law firm with their backing. They're getting vibes of capitalism and borderline tyranny to overthrow. It's stuff that speaks to some of them on moral levels in connection with their backstories, but also hits home, especially to the one who was pseudo raised by the cartel for years, going against authority, especially blatantly wrong authority, is something that drives them. And again, they have all opportunity to do whatever they want for once. No news crew or people with smartphones to see them and record it. They can let loose for once. And lastly, yield. Oops, actually, yield. Being able to tie in foreshadowing, or whether the protagonist's choices have unforeseen consequences or not. That same scenario is an opportunity where they can actually do things without major consequences, not in the immediate future, not for a long time. So finding where their own personal lines of where they're willing to hold back or go full kill. I've talked about in one of the discords I'm in about how, not last session, but session last week, they were storming a brothel. And none of the people were there by choice. At least not a choice they actually have any say in. They are not being sexually assaulted in what most people would think of sexual assault as. It is a case of, it's like, you don't have to sleep with anyone for pay if you don't want to. You certainly can't leave the building, and we're not going to give you food and water unless you pay for it, but you don't have to do anything. It's that sort of sexual assault where there's the illusion of choice. Kind of make it feel like it's a personal failing or threat. And honestly, that is the most evil way for it to be presented. The illusion of choice, which is just you can kill yourself by not submitting, or you can submit and hate yourself for the rest of your life. And just more proof that each of the characters have different individual lines of where what is too far and what is not. At the sounds of one of the people being physically abused, not flesh on flesh slapping, but more like a paddle or a strip of leather, stripping flesh from someone's back, gagged with a sock. Well, Hunter, our little dragonborn, whose backstory involves killing a family member who is going too far in a drunken rage, reached out, grabbed them by their dick, and used vampiric touch. kill them with necrotic damage through their groin. It was brutal. But it shows where his personal boundaries are for where things go. And yeah, just give your players an opportunity to ignore moral boundaries for a bit, and like only for a bit. You can't do a whole campaign like that unless you really trust them, but do it for a bit. They will decide where their character's boundaries on that are, and it will create tension in a way that you as a DM can't alone with just the NPCs. Good plots, good characterization, good RP is a collaboration. It is a collaboration between you and your players. If you give them the opportunities, they will impress and entertain in ways you could not have done solely by yourself. It's all a team. And yeah, that bit of a somber note. Let's go ahead and find someone to raid. It's only about 15-20 minutes early, but that's fine. It's ooh, let's see who is currently on. Is that window? There it is. Nope, that is not the right window. Darn me for having multiple windows. Oh, because I closed it. That's why I couldn't find it. Okay, let's see who's currently on Twitch. We got... is there anyone doing D&D type stuff right now? I don't think so. There is not. But you know what? I have not raided over to Hannah for a long time. I have fond memories of the trans raid train, how I met them and many other creators. We can go ahead and give her. Is it her? It's hard. Yes, she. We're gonna raid over to her. Right? It's hard to forget. Cause like I said, it has been a while. Yeah, we'll go ahead, give the raid over that direction. Thank you once again for joining me this evening. It's been a fun looking over some fun homebrew with you, and I hope some of you found some new creators to look into for ideas. But until next time, as always, I hope you guys are getting plenty to eat. You're remembering to drink and stay properly hydrated, and that should you come back, you're just as healthy, if not more so, than now. So, without further ado, I'll see you guys later.